Hi, I'm Leeza. I'm an international transformation specialist. And today I want to talk about something that touches all of us in one way or another, and especially those of us who want to do life well, and that is control. We live in a culture that teaches us that if we just work hard enough, or we play well enough, or we are fierce enough in striving, everything's going to go our way. But that doesn't always happen, does it? So, what if control and trying to grab control all the time is not the key to peace? What if it's actually the biggest obstacle to it? So think about this. Have you ever worn yourself out trying to predict what's going to happen or trying to fix what is happening or trying to manage all the bits and pieces of what's going on around you? Have you ever felt the crushing weight of feeling responsible for the outcomes that were actually never really yours to control in the first place, but you felt like they were? That pressure is not only exhausting, it's not necessary. So today I want to invite you to consider this. Surrendering control is not giving up. Surrendering it is stepping into freedom. So let's talk about that because surrender, the way that I'm using that word, doesn't mean that you give up and you don't care anymore. It means that you let go of what you're trying to hold on to and with so much energy and force and understandably good intentions, but you're still controlling and you're clinging and you're gripping tightly and letting go of that, being at ease with what is, and recognizing what's your responsibility and what's not. So let's start with clarity. It's seeing the illusion of control for what it really is. So control gives us the illusion of safety. We have this thought that if we just make it go a certain way, it's going to work out okay. Or if I just do it this way and then they think that, then it'll work out. And we have these whole sequences and constructs that we create in our minds. And then if it doesn't work out that way, we have so much stress about it. And we think if we can just plan it perfectly and anticipate every variable, then we'll be protected from it going wrong or from pain or from failure. But clarity comes when we realize that life is always bigger and it's more mysterious and it's more complex and interconnected than our plans are or that we could even plan for. So that clarity of that understanding our place in things is really useful. It actually gives us power. So real safety doesn't come from micromanaging the world or trying to, because it doesn't work anyway, but we think it does. And we act and we engage as though we can micromanage. So the safety comes not from that, but it comes from trusting that whatever's unfolding, we can meet that, that we have what it takes to match what's being asked of us. So let's talk about ownership, okay? Because what ownership means is that you release what was actually never yours to carry in the first place and to act on what actually is yours. So letting go is not passive at all. It's very powerful. It's an act of ownership, really. If you're in a situation that's challenging and people are frustrated or they're expecting things and you feel like you have to carry all of that and get it right, it takes a lot of energy to try and manage that and hold on to it. And it takes a lot of courage and power to just let that go and know that and say to yourself, I'm responsible for my choices. I'm responsible for my integrity, but I am not responsible for controlling all the outcomes or other people's reactions or what's going on that I'm not even able to touch. So when you reclaim your energy that way and you stop carrying what really wasn't yours to carry in the first place, you have all that extra energy to do what you want to do, to be how you want to be, to show up in a powerful way, because you're not occupied with trying to control things that actually weren't yours to control in the beginning. So let's talk about resolution, okay? Because there's peace. You can find peace on the other side of that struggle. I'm going to give you an example. I was facilitating a group recently, a group that knew each other well, and everything looked like it was functioning well, and we were doing some planning, and I was facilitating this process. And at some point, I sensed a shift in the room, and I didn't know exactly what happened. So obviously, I'm responsible for facilitating, I'm responsible for the content, and I'm noticing all that. But I recognized that something was going on that I had no responsibility for. It wasn't mine, but I didn't know what it was. What was important in that situation is that I trusted that whatever was going to emerge, I would be able to respond to as best as I could. So I asked, I kind of poked the bear. What's going on here? I'm sensing there's something in the room. Nobody's talking. Dead silence. And then somebody said something, and then somebody else said something, and voices started to raise, and it became rather full of friction. And as that was happening, I was noticing, and I came back to what's mine to do. So I asked questions. I reflected back. I listened deeply, all the skills that I not only teach, but I practice. And I was able to facilitate that conversation in such a way that it had an outcome that was needed. Now, the alternative to that situation would have been me trying to force through my agenda because I had my plan, right? I was there to facilitate. And that would have been forcing it. And it would have been trying to control circumstances. Don't say that. You sit down. We're not there yet. I didn't do that. I trusted the process and I trusted that whatever was emerging, I would be able to manage. I would be able to respond to in a way that I really was able to. So that's what we're talking about when we speak of relinquishing control and trusting yourself to deal with what's coming up at you. So resolution comes when you stop fighting life. You stop arguing with what's emerging. Surrender or relinquishing control and being with what is, it doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean that you stop being aware of reality and what's going on around you. Just the opposite. You actually have more capacity to be present to what's unfolding. And you're able to trust when things don't go according to your plan, that not only that you can respond to it, but that maybe there's something else going on that you're not responsible for and you can respond to. That there's a wiser unfolding, that there's something happening that's beyond your control, beyond your management. And you have the, I'm going to say, responsibility to respond to it, not to try and control it. So peace isn't found in control, it's actually found in trust, in trusting the process and trusting what's unfolding. So let's talk about excellence in regard to control and relinquishing control. Excellence comes when you flow with life instead of trying to fight against it. It's not about wrestling circumstances into submission the way you want things to be. Excellence comes when you are able to move in alignment with what's occurring. That you can, it's a dance really. And it doesn't mean you are willy-nilly and don't care and have no structure at all. The last thing people could accuse me of is not having structure. But when, and I've had to learn this, everything I'm sharing with you is not theoretical. Like I've had to learn this because I grew up in a certain situation where I couldn't trust my surroundings and I couldn't trust myself either. So I've had to learn this. But now that I do trust myself and I also trust the process, I don't have the need or that urge to control. I watch and I listen because I know I can respond. And I trust that what is emerging is happening for a reason. So then you can respond instead of react. It's a very different situation to be in. And when you are responding, you're able to create from a place of authenticity within yourself. There's a congruency inside and out. And you can create from that place instead of reacting out of fear. And that's when you step into your real power, right? So I'd said earlier that control is not the way to peace, it actually hinders it. When you are able to respond from that place within yourself that you trust and your power, that's when you feel free. Not that you're controlling the outcomes, but you are conscious and you are courageous and you're creative and you're co-creating with life, right? You're a participant, you're part of it. And then you become, often what my experience is you become, as that co-creator, excited and invigorated. It's where control can often be draining because it doesn't go your way and there's all this struggle involved. When you relinquish that and you trust, you get this upsurge of, yeah, energy, I'm going to say. So I'd like to offer you a takeaway, something that you can do in a tangible way that will allow you to practice letting go of control. So here's one thing for you this week. I invite you to notice an area in your life where you maybe are holding on tightly or gripping at something and you want it to be a certain way. It could be a project or maybe in a relationship or a specific outcome of something. So just think about it for a minute, what that might be. And when you have that in mind, make a commitment to using that particular situation that you want that outcome on, to use that as a practice ground. So when you come into that situation, take a pause and then ask yourself, what's actually within my responsibility here? The question I say is a little differently. What's mine here to do? Or what's mine here to be? Right? So just ask that question and get clear on that. And when you have that clarity, then ask yourself, what isn't mine? What is not my responsibility? And distinguishing those two is so useful. And it may feel very uncomfortable if it's a work outcome or if it's our children, right? Not having responsibility for their happiness or for the success or whatever it is can be a little uncomfortable at times. But sitting with that discomfort because it's not your responsibility for that outcome is a whole lot healthier and less energy sucking than taking responsibility for your part and responding in a way that's proactive from your abilities and from your power. So I invite you to practice releasing what's outside of your control and instead redirect your energy toward how you want to show up, which is within your control, within your command, I like to say, and not trying to force something outside of yourself. So if this message helped you breathe a little easier, if it gave you permission to trust more deeply yourself or circumstances, go ahead and like this video and subscribe for more. And you can share it with someone who needs this reminder too. So if you're ready to live with greater clarity and ownership and resolution and excellence, my 4 key words, you'll find links to more resources here in programs below. And remember, surrender and relinquishing control is not failure. It's just the opposite. It's actually freedom.